I don't know why people in church think that there's a genie around somewhere that just blinks and makes things happen. It doesn't happen that way.
You are an answer to prayer. Whatever we are doing, the underlying overarching goal is always that we do it with excellence and honor God, always.
Job. If you're waiting on me to get certain nuts and bolts done, good luck.
Welcome to Victory Exchange, our monthly conversation about life ministry and leadership, emanating from Hope Fellowship Church, the Victory Center here in Daytona Beach. I don't know why people in church think that there's a genie around somewhere that just blinks and makes things happen. It doesn't happen that way, but we're going to talk about planning and execution with our operations Pastor Faye Dadzie. As a matter of fact, let's hear from her now.
I came to Hope Fellowship Church in 2012. I can't believe it's 14 years already. I was introduced to Bishop as someone who had a background in ministry. And I was introduced to Bishop, and he said, well, listen, call my office next week and talk with my assistant, and let's just explore your background. And so I did that and met with him. At that time, he had a need for someone with human resources background and what have you, and that was what the field that I came from. Spent most of my professional career in human resources, and it's interesting in answering that question. Here is what he said to me, and I'll never forget. He said, "You are an answer to prayer." So when someone says that, it gets your attention. It's sort of like, wait a minute, really? But that's how I became a part of the team, that statement, you are an answer to prayer. Hope Fellowship Church, the Victory Center, is a place, is a church, a ministry, a family, a body of believers that are led by a visionary, a pastor who is committed to excellence. And so in everything that you see and everything that we do here, and we don't hit a home run every time, but what I can tell you, the overarching goal every time is that we respond, that we produce, that we offer excellence, whether it's the condition of the building, whether it's the preaching, the teaching, the singing, the serving, food, whatever we are doing, the underlying overarching goal is always that we do it with excellence and honor God. Always. I think that Bishop is sort of a straight arrow in the sense that he likes to have everything. There's a place for everything and everything in its place. And the operations pastor is a much more definitive term than an executive pastor. I think that it can mean many different things, whereas with the operations pastor, that is a role that is focused on how the church operates. What do we really do? What are the policies? What are the procedures? What happens with the building? What happens with the finances? So it's a very definitive, very, very exact, for lack of a better word, role that is not cloudy for most people. It really is self-explanatory. It's how do we operate. The advice that I would give someone who works closely with Bishop is be prepared. And if there is a situation or a problem that you bring to him, also bring a solution. It may not be the ideal response. He may have 100 different ideas about how to address it, but his expectation is that you be prepared, and that when you come to him that you have thought through. He expects you to be professional and prepared. And so that's what I would encourage anyone who wants to work with him to do.
Well, welcome back to Victory Exchange. We're going to talk to Pastor Faye Dadzie today about planning and execution. We are here and we've launched our new year. We've got our plan. Our theme is glory and grace. And God has really, really been revealing to us through his word how powerful the theme is. And I think it's going to be not only for 2026, but life-changing for us for the rest of our lives. But I want to talk a little bit about what it takes to execute ministry. A lot of people think that ministry is from Sunday to Sunday. Mm-hmm. And as operations pastor, your job is to help us not only execute the task of ministry, but to keep us on track. How do you keep people from just operating from Sunday to Sunday?
Well, I think that it's a process, mm-hmm. and we've been in the trenches for a while, sort of giving that message.
Right.
So I think that most of our leaders really do understand that now. Now, maybe some of our partners who are not so intricately involved in the day-to-day may not be as aware, but our leaders certainly are, that things are happening every day, 7 days a week, mm-hmm. that we don't punch out at 4
right.
and come back the next day or the next Sunday or whatever the case may be. We are around the clock, really, in the sense of if people need something, we're going to be there one way or the other. So I think that we have done a good job. You have done a really good job of communicating that to our leadership, and they are functioning in that way currently, I think, at a great level.
I think at a great level as well. We've been in the middle of, this is year 5 of a 5-year infrastructure rebuild, where we have been retooling our infrastructure so that we can do even greater things for the kingdom of God. I remember years ago, probably even before your time, and you've been here a while, when we had a much bigger full-time staff. Mm-hmm. And when we had a much bigger full-time staff, it was easier for me to keep us on target mm-hmm. and on task with ministry vision and purpose, and not just live from Sunday to Sunday, mm-hmm. because everybody had a job.
Right.
And they knew, this is my job. I come in here every Monday through Friday to do this particular job. And as they did their job, it fed into the overall mission and ministry of the church. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more challenging when you don't have a lot of paid staff, but you have a lot of volunteer leadership. Right. And we have to kind of move them collectively in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And you deal with the nuts and bolts of that.
Mm-hmm. You gave us a couple of words, and I have it on the bulletin board in my office last year, or maybe even the year before, but those words have resonated with me since you gave them to us. And those 2 words were speed and excellence.
Speed and excellence.
And so that was sort of our marching orders. Mm-hmm. And I think that we've tried we don't get it right all the time, obviously, but that we are aware that that's the goal, that that's the vision, and that's what we are striving toward. And so that's a piece of it. I think the other piece is the way that you have structured the organizational chart, mm-hmm. in that there are center leaders, right. even though we don't have as many paid staff as before my time, but they are center leaders, very accomplished, professional, dedicated, godly people who want to do it, right. and who want to do a good job. Mm-hmm. And so I think the organizational structure has gone a long way in abating some of that lack of paid staff, mm-hmm. in terms of numbers and even money. Because these people are volunteers.
Absolutely. And let me say this very clearly. I've got fantastic leadership, and I've got fantastic center leaders. You are right. They are accomplished. Yep. They work hard, and they're godly.
Yes.
They love God.
All of them.
They actually love God.
Yeah.
Because there are people who love operating in ministry, mm-hmm. but don't necessarily love God. Mm-hmm. And their employment can supersede their discipleship. And when your employment supersedes your discipleship, ultimately that portion of the ministry, and depending on how far of a reach you have, the ministry can really stumble and crumble, right. when you have people who are like that. Let's give an example. We set a course for this particular year, mm-hmm. operationally, to work on our systems, mm-hmm. So we know no matter what else we do, that's something that we have to work on. But in the words of Dr. H. Beecher Hicks Jr., he said it to me on the plane. I was on the plane, I got on the plane, and I normally don't bother people. I don't bother people, but I said, I may not ever have this chance again. And so I said, Dr. Hicks, I'm a young pastor and I love your ministry and preaching and blah, blah, blah. That's when he was still at Metropolitan. And I said, you know, what's the most difficult thing about preaching? Because I said, can I just ask you 2 questions? He said, yes. I said, what's the most difficult thing about pastoring? He said, son, Sunday keeps coming. Sunday keeps coming.
Yep.
No matter what else you do,
right.
Sunday is coming. Right. So you got to take time to prepare and preach and all of that. But the other thing that I asked him was, okay, what are you reading? Because you always want to know the people that you admire, their brains, what are they reading? And he told me what he was reading. To that end, how do you, because you know more about this church than I do, as far as the nuts and bolts of it. And that's your job to know.
Yes.
I have no idea.
I'm supposed to know.
I have no idea. When vendors come in and they say, hello, I say hi, and I keep going. Many of them don't even know who I am, right. And they don't need to know because I can't help them. You know, I cannot help them. But with all of that, you know that there's going to come a meeting where I'm going to do a vision check and I'm going to do a mission check. And yes, we had a great week last week. And yes, all of our vendors were taken care of and this and that. But let's do a vision check. How do you help us to balance both?
I think that certainly Sunday is coming every week, as you said. But for me, that's not as pressing as it is for you.
Yes. Yes.
In yes. all actuality.
Because they want to know, is there a word from the Lord?
Get off your deathbed and preach the word.
These people are so serious.
We are brutal.
They are brutal.
We are. I admit it.
Pastor, you're not feeling well. You got to get better because you got to preach.
Here's some Tylenol, preach. My focus is the day-to-day. And so it's making sure, yes, if there is any way that I can assist you in whatever way, then I'm for that. But my focus is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever. And so I don't lose sight of my priorities. So it keeps me in tune to what I really need to be doing, and that's making sure that the building is in good shape. And if something is not the way it should be, then I need to take care of that. If any of our ministries need something, whether that's a meeting set up or whether they need a table or whether they need supply, I need to make sure that their operations are flowing smoothly. I need to be able to make sure that the bills get paid, and so I'm always checking that. I need to make sure. So I'm
budgeting, finance, like all of
that. And so yes, your stuff is important, but you handle that.
Yeah.
You know,
it's interesting to that end, and let me say this to younger pastors. I don't believe I've been doing this long enough to say, hey, you younger pastors, but let me say this to younger pastors. You have to know what you're doing at the top and how it affects everything else and the connection between. So when I say this, then that means I can make one statement and create 5 jobs.
Absolutely, and do. Let me just say, not can, and do.
You know, it happens.
It does.
And we have to recognize, but on the flip side of the cone, it's important for young pastors to know that your team does the same and protects you from stuff that you don't need to be involved in. So, for example, a few months ago, we had a flood on a Sunday afternoon. You know, we had baptized some people and the pool kept running and this and that. And so I found out about the flood happened that Sunday afternoon. I think I found out about the flood Monday. And I said, why didn't you all call me? And you were like, what were you going to do?
You were home.
I was
You had
home.
already preached and gone home, I'm sure, to have your dinner, your nap, whatever the case may be. You weren't going to, we didn't need you to drive back here.
Right.
And do what, mop up?
You know, it's like, dude, you're 40 miles away. What are we calling you for?
Right.
And go to sleep.
Right.
We've
We got this. Yeah.
We've got this.
Yeah.
I've got two final questions. I think it is important for even our partners and our members to understand this. Number one, how important it is for them to know their role. At every piece of the puzzle, you know, we in Hope Fellowship Church, the Victory Center, we were our puzzle pieces. We are our piece of the puzzle. Talk about how it takes load off you when everybody else who is a piece does their piece.
It absolutely does, because going back to your earlier point, our staff is very small. And so when each of our partners does their part, now my role in operations is to assist,
Right.
to make sure that people have the resources that they need to carry out their role.
You are a developer and a facilitator.
Right. But my job is not to do it.
Right.
It's to help you, to assist you, lead servant, you center leader, whomever, to do it. And so one of the things, as we've talked about systems and all of that, one of the things that I'm working on right now is a service request.
Yes.
So that, because one of the things that people don't understand, going back to your point, is there's one of me and dozens
Right.
of you. So we're going to need to work together to plan so that I can be the resource that you need to carry out what you need to do. But you can't drop it on my desk today,
Right.
and need it this afternoon. And so I'm working on some things like that as we talk about systems. So part of what my job is to create those systems that make their jobs easier.
Yes.
Right.
And one of the things that we were able to do maybe 10 years ago is finally get our leaders and members and partners to understand that it doesn't happen today.
Right.
That there's a system,
Right.
You have to do some planning. There's no, I was thinking and I figured you could.
Right.
No, that doesn't work. And then we killed that about 10 years ago. My final question would be this. How do you, for 2026, how do you evaluate yourself? What's a win for the Office of Operations in 2026?
That's a great question. And
I don't have a lot of answers, but I ask good questions.
that is a really, really great question. And it's interesting. I was kind of pondering that. Actually, same thing, a little different. But for me, a win, it is really important to me that not only externally, because we do a lot in and for the community.
Right.
And the Hope Fellowship way is the way of excellence. It really is.
It's the Hope way.
It really is. And we I think we do that externally. But for me, a win is that we do that same level of excellence internally. For me, a win is every lead servant to feel well served.
Wow.
Well served. That they are important, that their goals and their objectives are important to the operations office of this church, that I am here for you to make sure that I partner with you to be successful. That is so important to me. So a win is when a lead servant, a partner walks away and says, my church treated me well.
That's so good. That is so good, because all of us have a tendency, if we're not careful, especially when we are a ministry of great service to the community, a lot of times we can serve company more and better than we serve those in the house.
Yes.
And so that is critical. Listen, this is Victory Exchange, and each month we want to talk about leadership, life, and ministry. Sometimes we will share with you, as we have today, about the nuts and bolts of ministry. Sometimes we will share with you about life issues, and then other times we will talk about leadership so that we can all do the things that we need to do for the kingdom of God. I am blessed. I am honored to be the pastor of Hope Fellowship Church, the Victory Center, and I am blessed to have wonderful people who help to get this thing done. This is not a one-man gang by any stretch of the imagination. And here's how I like to view myself. In some instances, I am the most important human piece. But in other instances, as in operations, I'm the least important human piece. because I don't do that stuff. If you're waiting on me to get certain nuts and bolts done, good luck. Just good luck. And it's not that I don't want to help you. It's because I can't. I can't. And so that's why we've got wonderful people like Pastor Faye Dadzie who make sure that we get things done. It's Victory Exchange. I'm Bishop Derek Triplett. We'll see you next month.